Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the privilege stacking series. In these videos, I tend to talk about thin privilege, and I am here to tell you your relationship or your dating life is making you fat. I was thinking about this the other day, and the fattest times of my life have been when I was in relationships. And that's because I was spending a lot of time at the guy's house or in his dorm room in college or like basically eating his food. By the way, did you know that men in general, they don't tend to value health as much as women? Not only do they tend to be bad at grocery shopping, so if you're eating at his house, you're going to be eating his groceries, but according to Google, men eat more processed food than women. And here's the screenshot of the proof. Men tend to eat more processed food, particularly in the form of red meat, energy drinks, alcohol, and cereal bars. Men tend to eat more fast food during lunch than women, while women tend to eat more fast food as a snack. Men eat more meat than women, especially red and processed meats. Men tend to prefer high fat, strongly flavored meals and may frequent fast food outlets. However, women are more likely to be addicted to highly processed food. So basically, if you're with a guy who eats a whole bunch of gas station food and stuff, you are actually the one who is more vulnerable to the addiction. So a lot of these relationships you're in, this guy is leading you into a food addiction. I had another episode of the Decentering Men series where I was talking about how most men have bad coping mechanisms. Processed food is another one of men's bad coping mechanisms. Have you ever had a boyfriend where every morning he goes to the gas station and he gets some coffee, he gets donuts, and then on his way back from work, he stops at the convenience store and he gets hot Cheetos or like beef jerky or something like that? So a lot of them have very bad coping mechanisms. A lot of men tend to say that salads and stuff are nasty. Like, I know I've been around men where they have literally talked shit about me eating salads or vegetables. And if you don't believe me, I want you to think about the 5 closest men that you have in your life. Think about your dad, your brother, your cousins, your uncles. What kinds of foods do they tend to eat? Do you see them eating salads all the time? Because even if I were to think of some of my family members, like one of my brothers, he definitely eats processed food. My other brother's vegan, so I guess I won't count him. But it's like, generally speaking, just think about the men in your life. Think about the men at your job. When you're on your lunch break and the men come in and they're making their lunches, what are they eating for lunch? Usually they're eating pizzas, they're eating Hot Pockets, they're eating something that you have to put in the microwave. And so when you tie your life to this man, you gradually start taking on those same eating habits. This is why a lot of women in long term relationships become fat. Well, this is one of the many reasons. I'm going to get into some of the other reasons too. But a lot of men are bad at picking the right foods for themselves. And this is because if you look at a lot of fast food commercials and stuff, a lot of food advertisements are actually geared towards men. If you look at the ads for like Domino's Pizza, Chick-fil-A, they have a lot of those ads that play during football games. So a lot of men are actually being brainwashed into thinking that all of these processed foods are normal. Not to mention the fact that men are not valued for their looks on the same level as women. Like, a lot of men, they care more so about how their woman looks versus women. A lot of men, they can get away with having a beer belly. You know, he can get away with having a little bit of a stomach or being padded. That's what they call it. Like, oh, he's just padded. Oh, he just looks like a football player. So a lot of men don't even care about their diets as much as women. Number 2 is stress. Most women in long term relationships are very stressed out because they are cooking, they're cleaning, they're going 50-50. They're stressing out about his porn addiction. You know, she's stressing out about how to cater to his mood swings. She's working as a free therapist, a free maid. She's working as a house slave and an ex worker for free. And so a lot of women end up neglecting themselves. They neglect their own diet. They neglect their own body goals. And sometimes the man will actually shame the woman for doing that. Because if you look on a lot of men's YouTube channels where they talk about how to tell if your woman is cheating and all those types of videos, did you know that weight loss is one of the reasons that men think that a woman is cheating? So if your boyfriend is codependent or if he's insecure, he might sabotage your weight loss because he thinks that if you lose weight, then suddenly you're going to be more attractive and you're going to get someone better than him. And I mean, he's not wrong because you probably are going to be able to get somebody better than him. But a lot of guys sabotage their girlfriend's weight loss they sabotage her diet, or they will say stuff like, oh, you're already beautiful the way you are. Like, oh, you hate yourself. That's why you're trying to lose weight. Oh, you have an eating disorder. Have you ever noticed that the main people they accuse of having eating disorders, they tend to be thin women? Meanwhile, you do know that binge eating is also an eating disorder as well, right? You do know that food addiction and like wanting to drown all your sorrows with a pint of ice cream every day, that is an eating disorder. But a lot of people, they have no smoke for the obese people. They have all the smoke for slim people, saying that it's an eating disorder. So sometimes men will actually try to sabotage their girlfriends, and they will accuse their girlfriend of being self-hating or trying to look white or trying to fit into European beauty standards. I mean, you guys saw the video recently where the woman was comparing being skinny to being a fascist, and she was like comparing it to being Nazis. So for some people, they will even try to convince you that you are somehow betraying your ethnicity, because they will say stuff like, oh, you're going to have a white girl body, you're going to have a white girl booty, or you're not going to look black anymore because suddenly you're going to be too skinny. You're going to look like one of those skinny Asian women. So they're trying to make it like your ethnicity should be synonymous with being thick or being bigger. So that's another reason that some women's relationships can make them fat. Number three, you are trying to meet your boyfriend's body standards, or you're trying to meet his sexual preferences. I have been around men before where they will say like, oh no, I only like BBWs. So like if you lose the weight, then I'm not going to be attracted to you anymore. So this could be a woman where she wants to lose weight. She doesn't want to be a BBW anymore. She wants to be healthy now. You know, maybe she is choosing to go down to a size 8 or down to a size 10 or something, but because of him and his sexual preferences or fetishes, she feels pressured to maintain that bigger body because she's hoping that he will like her more. So it's a male-centered beauty standard. It's kind of a male-centered body standard. So if he likes him thick, I'm going to stay thick, even though I don't want to be thick. So do you see the cognitive dissonance there? That's another reason women's relationships can make them fat. Number four is the fear of being seen. For some women, they feel comfortable in their relationships and they don't want the increased visibility and the increased scrutiny or criticism that comes with losing weight. Because think about it, especially if you have a jealous boyfriend or like some jealous man in your life, then suddenly he's going to start policing your food. He's going to start policing your body. Have you ever tried to lose weight and maybe you tell somebody and then suddenly that person starts spying on what you're eating? They start trying to police what you're eating. And it's like, wait a minute, I thought this was my weight loss journey, not yours. So for some women, they allow themselves to stay fat because they don't want to deal with people holding them accountable. You know, when you're losing weight, you're naturally going to make mistakes on your weight loss journey. You're naturally going to go up and down a little bit because you're still learning what lifestyle works best for you. And so some women stay where they are because their boyfriend calls out whenever she makes a mistake. Like maybe you lost 5 pounds and then you gain back 2 pounds. He starts to make you feel like you failed. He starts to say, well, you're going to gain the weight back, or, you know, what are you going to do? Eat salads for the rest of your life? You're never going to be able to eat a piece of cake again. So sometimes the men in your life will actually start to project fear onto you. They will start to say these things to make you scared. Or another thing that I've heard, some people will be like, oh, you want to keep your big clothes in case you gain the weight back. So basically they're admitting that they think you're always going to be a beluga. But number four, reason why your relationships and your dating life turns you into a beluga is because you're actually going out to eat on a lot of dates. So a part of the reason why I decided to take a break from dating for a couple months is because my dating life, it started to affect my fitness. Because if you're going on dates 4 times a week, that is, you're eating out and you're eating processed meals 4 times a week. Even if you have a salad, the salads at restaurants are like 900 calories. And part of that is because of the dressing. So by the way, one tip is just ask them to serve you the dressing on the side and then just dip your fork in the dressing and then eat your salad instead of pouring the entire dressing all over your salad, to where now you're guaranteed to get all those calories. But anyway, your dating life can make you fat because if you're being taken out on a lot of dates to all of these restaurants and stuff, you know, so you're eating steak on Friday night at the 5-star restaurant, and then a few days later, maybe you have a date with another guy. Maybe you have a roster or something. So a few days later, now you're going out to brunch. Now you're going out, you're getting grilled cheese. Now this other guy's taking you out for drinks. That actually can cause weight gain. That actually is one of the reasons that I decided to take a break. It was because it was messing up my fitness goals. I don't want to be eating sodas and fries and steaks and all this stuff 4 times a week. Eating that much processed food, it is definitely going to slow down your weight loss because restaurant food is processed food. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it's a vegan restaurant. I don't care if it's a salad bar. It is processed because in order for them to make a profit at that restaurant, they have to have some sort of processed items that can last longer in the kitchen. Like restaurants are not purchasing brand new fresh produce every single day. That's going to eat away at their profitability. So my rule of thumb that I go by is that restaurant food is processed food. Doesn't matter if it's a smoothie bowl, doesn't matter if it's something that is supposedly healthy. It's never going to be as healthy as like you making it yourself in the kitchen. So that's another reason that your relationships are making you into a beluga. It's because you have a whole roster of men that you're dating, and so you're going out to eat 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. You're eating out at dinner, and then the next day, another guy asks you out. Now you're eating out at breakfast, and then somebody else asks you out. Now you're eating out at brunch. So that's like 3 or 4 meals that you just ate out within 24 hours. So you're stacking all of those calories on top of each other, and you're not even giving your body the time to process all of that crap that you just ate at the restaurant, especially if you go out for ice cream. You know how sometimes on a date, you might go get a 5-star meal or something, and then he takes you for ice cream after that. Okay, yeah, so you just ate 2,000 calories like in one night. So you ate your breakfast, your lunch, dinner, and dessert. And then if the guy asks you on another date, now you're probably going to go out to eat again. Or even if you go somewhere else, like the movies with your boyfriend. Okay, you're probably eating popcorn at the movies, which is high in sodium. And that sodium is causing you to retain water weight. So now you're bloated. Now you got a double chin. Now your stomach is poking out. It's because of your dating life. So one of the ways that you can actually fix this is to date men who are athletic or men who value working out. And I'm not saying that your date is going to be a walk in the park, but what I'm saying is you can see if there are any other options for dates besides just eating. But generally speaking, most women, they do prefer to have some sort of food when they're dating. And so that's why your dating life can cause you to get fat, especially if you have a lot of pretty privilege and you're being asked out on a lot of dates. Because before you know it, you'll be going on 3 or 4 dates in one week. And then if you have a whole roster, and then, so that's like 12 times a month. Let's calculate this really quick. 4 dates a week, and then there are 4 weeks in a month. That is 16 times that you're going out to eat in 30 days. That's like going out to eat every other day. That's a lot of extra calories. That's a lot of processed food. So that's something that actually ends up causing women to lose their pretty privilege. It's actually their dating life. A lot of single women, this happens to them. I've never seen anybody talk about this on YouTube, how a lot of pretty privileged single women who are actively dating, if they get asked on a lot of dates, they end up losing some of the pretty privilege because they're going out for drinks every other day. Alcohol, that's very high in calories. It can be high in sugar. So they're doing lots of drinking, they're starting to get bloated, and then after 3 months of doing that, she's already gained 10 or 15 pounds. Okay, I think I'm on like number 4. Number 4 is that you guys are staying up late and eating food while watching movies or doing other activities. So if you have some sort of boyfriend or someone you're hanging out with or spending a lot of time with, sometimes you may have the tendency to stay up late. And then suddenly he's like, hey, you want to go to 7-Eleven really quick and get some ices? Hey, I ordered some pizza for us. Let's just stay up all night and watch these movies, or let's have a movie marathon. Hey, let's cook something. Oh, let's go to the grocery store and get some cookies and ice cream. A lot of these late night eating habits, I know that it may be fun in the moment. Maybe you're playing pool with him or something, and then you guys are at the bar super late, and so then he just orders a plate of fries just because you're starting to get hungry because you've been out for a long time. So I get it. He's trying to be generous, but you have to make sure that, like, if a guy's being generous with food, that is going to eventually mess up your body goals. Just saying. Even if it's a 5-star restaurant, even if it's quote-unquote healthy food, like he got you something, like he got you a smoothie bowl. Smoothie bowls can be 900 calories. By the way, one tip that you can do is when you're ordering a smoothie bowl, ask them to take off the granola because granola is calorie dense. That's a part of why some of those smoothie bowls have 900 calories. It's because of the granola and it's because of the peanut butters or the almond butters. So make them take out the peanut butter and take out the granola. That's going to subtract like 500 calories right there. But anyway, sometimes men, when they are trying to be generous, sometimes they end up being generous with food. And so that causes you to gain weight because you're eating late at night. You're eating all these ice creams. You're eating 7-Eleven. Especially if you tell a guy what your favorite snack is, because I've noticed that some guys, they're trying to be sweet. Like if he knows that you love root beer floats, sometimes he might get you a root beer float because he's trying to be nice. So yeah, that's nice, but also like if he keeps doing that and if you keep eating the root beer float every day, then you are going to gain weight. Okay, I think I'm on number 6. He is conflicting with your workout schedule. So a lot of women in the hypergamy space, they talk a lot about age gap dating. Okay, so the bad thing about age gap dating is if he's old, especially if he's old and he already has money and his life is already settled, a lot of guys lose their motivation after that because they're like, fuck it, I already have money. I'm already with this beautiful woman right here. So why do I need to go run 5 miles? Why do I need to train for a half marathon now? That doesn't make sense. So a lot of women who do age gap dating, you may find yourself being conflicted in your workout schedule because he doesn't want to work out. He wants to sit on his rocking chair like a bump on a log. He wants to sit on his front porch or sit on his balcony or sit around in his beach house, or he wants to go fishing and sit in a boat all day long, or he wants to sit on the beach and relax. So yeah, he may not have to work out, or he may not prioritize working out if you're one of those women who dates quote unquote ugly guys. Okay, so he doesn't care obviously about his looks. And so now you are being distracted because when you're spending time with him, you're not working out because you're entertaining him. And he doesn't have the same workout schedule as you. So next thing you know, you're gradually working out less and less. Maybe you used to go on runs every day. You used to go to the gym for like 2 hours or something. Now you don't do that because you're spending time with him. So a lot of times his habits can start to rub off on you, or basically you end up sacrificing your workout time so that you can spend time with him. And a lot of women can also be lazy with this too, because if you're going to see your boyfriend or something and you know that he doesn't work out, you're going to have to wake up at 5 a.m. and do your workout. And most women don't want to do that. And so then they just let themselves turn into belugas because they're too lazy to either rearrange their schedule or they just allow the man to kind of influence them. Okay, number 7, the food from his ethnicity is fattening. Yes, that's right, I said it. Some ethnic foods are better than others in terms of health. And for those of you who are going to accuse me of being racist, I've got the ChatGPT screenshots right here. The most unhealthy ethnic food is soul food. Okay? And that's because it's got fried foods, fatty meats like pork, fried chicken, and sausages, rich gravy, biscuits, cornbread, mac and cheese, collard greens with pork fat, and sugary desserts. Okay, so argue with ChatGPT. You can go argue with Google. Number 1 most unhealthy ethnic food is soul food. Number 2 is Mexican food. So if you date African American men, if you date Mexican men. Number 3, I think it was Italian. Yeah, it's Italian. That's number 3. So if you date African American men, Mexican men, Italian men. Number 4 is Chinese food. So if you date Chinese men. And then number 5 was Indian food. So if you date any of those 5 groups, guess what? You're more likely to be eating some of those highly unhealthy foods from their ethnic background. By the way, honorable mention, number 6 was Caribbean food for like the number 6 highest fat in terms of ethnic food. So if you're dating a Caribbean man, that's another thing. The jerk chicken, the fried plantains, the rice and beans, the stew, all of that food from his ethnicity, that can also be fattening. If you're dating a Chinese guy and you're eating a whole bunch of fried dumplings, tempura, well, I don't know if that's Chinese, but I know that that's Asian food, like fried vegetables, basically a whole bunch of deep fried stuff, that is going to turn you into a beluga if you keep eating that every day. Okay, the next thing on the list is that you are trying to cook in order to appease him. So maybe you like to keep it simple. Like I know for me, as a thin person, my meals can sometimes be pretty boring. Okay, so like yesterday, I ate some arugula with some tomato, just a very basic meal. Just arugula with tomato. It had some onions and celery in there. That was my salad that I ate. And I had it with like some pesto. Okay, that's pretty boring. Most men, that's not going to be the number 1 thing on their list. So if you're dating a guy who's like Indian or something, or he's Chinese or he's Hispanic, a lot of men care about the taste of food. And a lot of men will actually complain if the food tastes bad. So one of the things that women do is they will try to cook for whatever man they're dating, and they're gonna be more likely to cook his ethnic foods rather than just making a boring salad. So that is something that turns you into a beluga. Your cooking habits are now changing. Now you're making gumbo and fried chicken for your African American boyfriend versus just eating one egg, which is what you would have done before. Maybe you would have just had a bowl of vegetables. So the food that you're cooking for him, that's going to be the food that you end up eating too. Unless, of course, you want to purchase your own groceries or you want to ask him to purchase separate groceries for you. And we all know that a lot of men are actually very bad at grocery shopping. You will ask a guy to get you some groceries, he won't even know where to go in the aisle. He will get lost when he's walking down the aisles. He'll get lost in the produce section. He doesn't even know what arugula is. He doesn't even know the difference between arugula versus spinach versus baby spinach versus romaine lettuce. He probably doesn't even know the difference in a lot of cases. So either you have to trust him to get all of those groceries and to get them correctly and to be able to find everything on the list, or he's going to call and nag you. He's going to be calling your phone like, hey, what aisle is the arugula in? Hey, I can't find the garlic. I can't find the tomatoes. So he's going to be asking you as if you are a Whole Foods employee. So now you have to serve as his personal concierge. You have to be the grocery store employee. You are now his personal chef. And on top of that, your workout routine is going down the drain. Your personal self-care time is going down the drain. This is something that a lot of women don't realize. And this is a part of why I say that you should decenter men, because a part of decentering men, even if you're in a relationship, is decentering him from your time. So guess what? That boyfriend, he's not going to interfere with your personal workout routine. He shouldn't be interfering with your diet. In fact, you should be telling him, hey, this is my diet. I'm vegan or I'm pescatarian or whatever. I only eat raw vegetables. I'm a raw vegan. And he should not be infringing upon your lifestyle, because a lot of times what happens is lifestyle creep. I know that people talk about that in terms of finance, but I'm kind of changing the definition here. I feel like lifestyle creep is like when the guy's lifestyle starts to creep off onto your lifestyle, and he goes to the gas station a lot, so he knows all of the gas station foods. Have you ever dated a guy like that, where maybe he knows all of the best processed foods? Like, I didn't even know that there were multiple flavors of Oreos until I started hanging around with certain guys. Like, I didn't know that Oreo had that many different types of cookie. I didn't know they had that many different frostings in the middle. I didn't know that, like, the gas station has all these different types of lattes and all the syrups and stuff. I had no idea until I started hanging out with men who like to shop in processed food stores. So a lot of times the guy's life will start to creep over into your life. And don't even get me started on pregnancy, because that's another thing that can make you fat. I know that you're supposed to gain weight when you get pregnant, but in some cases, when you're pregnant, you're already gaining the weight, then you have the baby. And so now you don't have time to do anything because you're raising the newborn baby by yourself. Maybe you're a married single mother. And now suddenly he makes the excuse that he has to work more and he has to work later. And then, he has to quote unquote provide more money for you and the baby. So he's providing money supposedly for you and the baby, but somehow he doesn't have enough money to provide for a nanny. So now you become the nanny. And so now you're neglecting yourself. That's another reason why women's relationships make them fat. It's because they were pregnant and they didn't have enough time off work, or they didn't have enough time to kind of recover from the pregnancy after they had the baby. Or in some cases, the man won't even pay for like a stroller, because I've seen the women who have babies, I've seen them go running in the park and they will be pushing a stroller. So it's like, okay, the guy could have at least bought you a stroller and then you guys could have gone running in the park or something, and then you just push the stroller. But also another thing though too is when you have a baby, you can't control how that baby is going to react to the climate. So just because you can go walking in the rain, it doesn't mean that you can really push the stroller in the rain. It doesn't mean that you can take the baby out when it's 90 degrees in the summertime. So a lot of times babies, they also don't react well to certain climates, or they don't react well to certain stimuli, like hearing the noises of the cars going by and stuff. Sometimes babies will start crying. So that's another thing that makes women fat. It's the fact that they can't take their baby out, or they can't, maybe they don't have a daycare at their gym or whatever, and then the man is not helping, so she's like a married single mother, and then they can't afford a nanny, so now her time is being taken up by being the nanny. And I mean, I've seen some women where they will do squats with the baby in her arms. Like I've seen the YouTube videos of those moms who do that. But let's be honest, most women are not doing that. They're not going to use the baby as their weightlifting machine. So that's another reason why some women turn into belugas. But I want to go back to the whole ethnic food argument too. So the number one most unhealthy was the soul food. So it goes soul food is the worst, then Mexican is second, and then Italian is third. So let's say you're a black woman and you're dating a guy who's Italian. So a part of interracial and intercultural dating, a part of the fun of that is that you get to explore their culture, right? So, but that makes it very easy for you to gain weight because then he's going to be like, oh, do you want to go to this bread shop? Hey, do you want to go to this Italian restaurant? Hey, do you want to go to this Italian bistro? Do you want to try these Italian sodas? So he's going to be introducing you to all of his new ethnic foods. It's very easy to get addicted to those new ethnic foods because let's be honest, they taste good. Italian food tastes good. Soul food tastes good. Mexican food tastes good. So sometimes, especially if you're dating interracially, that's something you want to look out for. And by the way, I'm speaking from experience here because a lot of times a part of the adventure of interracial dating is trying their restaurants and, trying their foods and then trying to make it yourself. Or maybe that's one of the activities you guys do together. So I get it. It's very enjoyable. But if you're not practicing moderation or if you're not scheduling it out, then it can screw you up. So my rule that I have, so I don't turn into a beluga, is that if I know I'm going to be eating out, first of all, this is a part of why you don't let guys ask you on spontaneous dates. Because if he says, hey, do you want to go out to the Chinese restaurant tonight? Honestly, I would say no because I did not plan my diet out so that I could eat out a whole bunch of, Chinese takeout tonight. I didn't do that. And also that's kind of disrespectful to my time. So make sure that when a guy is asking you out, that you have at least 3 or 4 days in advance because then you can actually prepare your body to eat that much processed food, or at least that's what I do. So if I know that I'm going to a party or something, I will try to eat perfectly 3 days before and 3 days after because 3 days, that gives me enough time to get rid of all the waste out of my system, kind of eat vegetables, rehydrate myself. Because if you eat a lot of processed foods and you're already partially dehydrated, it makes the dehydration worse. And then that makes you constipated and then that makes you bloated. So it's a whole thing. So make sure that you have planned ahead when you're going to be trying his ethnic foods. Or if you know, hey, I'm going to be making some Indian curry with him this weekend or whatever you guys are doing. We're going to a cooking class. We're going to an Italian cooking class or something. Okay, so make sure that about 3 days before, you're doing almost like a mini cleanse. So you're eating lots of leafy green vegetables, kind of cleansing out your body. You're getting lots of fiber in because otherwise you're just going to start getting addicted to all these Italian foods. Oh my God, I gained so much weight one time because I was eating naan. Naan bread, like the Indian bread? First of all, that shit is so good. Oh my God, I don't even like bread. I do not even like bread. But for whatever reason, the Italian style breads and also naan bread, those are, oh my God, they're just so addicting to me. So I remember one time I was just eating all this naan bread and I'm like, why am I suddenly gaining weight? I've never gained weight this fast in my life. Well, it's because, first of all, I didn't research the ethnic foods from the Indian community. So I had no idea that naan bread, especially if it's garlic, butter, naan, it's got the toppings on it. I didn't realize how many calories were in it. So I was eating 3 things of naan bread per day, 3 big slices of naan. And then I would put toppings on it. You put the rice on top of it. You put the different types of curry on it, all the chickpeas and stuff, or eating a whole bunch of hummus. Hummus is also very calorie dense. So if you are dating a guy of a certain ethnicity, and maybe it's a different ethnicity than yours, make sure that you know what to order or make sure that you kind of have an idea of what the healthier food choices are for his ethnic background. So let's say he's Chinese. Okay, so you want to look up what are the healthiest Chinese dishes? Can I get an egg drop soup? I don't know if that's Chinese, but I've had that at Asian restaurants. That was one of my go-tos for Asian food. It was the egg drop soup because it's got protein in it, it's liquidy, my body does well on liquids versus having a big giant thing of rice, having a whole bunch of carbs, all these noodles, that's a bunch of carbs. something else that makes women fat in their relationships, it's not being knowledgeable about the calories in that man's ethnic group's food. So a lot of women, they just pedestalize men of other ethnic groups. They'll just pedestalize him because he's Italian. They pedestalize him because he's Turkish, because he's Jewish, or whatever it is. And then they start binging on all of these different Jewish foods. They start binging on all this Italian food, having no idea how many calories are in it. You have no idea how much sugar is in that. You have no idea how much bloating that's going to cause you. So that is something else that makes women fat. They pedestalize that man's ethnic group so much to the point where they also pedestalize his food from his culture. And they haven't realized that every culture has pros and cons. Every ethnic group has good foods that are good for you and foods that are bad for you. I will say with Caribbean food, oh my god, that is so good. Jerk chicken is so good, but I can see why some people would get fat too. Not off of jerk chicken, but off of like the other types of Caribbean food, especially if you're trying the desserts from that person's ethnic group. That's another thing that makes women fat. They get obsessed with the desserts or the drinks from that ethnic group. I will say I am obsessed with Italian soda. Well, I used to. I don't drink it anymore because I'm healthier now, but like Italian soda, if you make it correctly, and gelato, oh my god, that is so good. I used to eat so much gelato and drink so much Italian soda. So for some women, they start getting addicted to the desserts, and also it's new. You know, think about like macaroons. I know macaroons, they're not that high in calories, but I'm the type of person that will eat like 6 macaroons. So I can't really eat those anymore because I don't have a lot of self-control around macaroons, but that's something else. You know, maybe he's of French ancestry or something. Maybe he is of European ancestry. Then you guys are going out and getting crepes all the time. And so now you're eating all this powdered sugar. You're eating all this chocolate syrup whenever you guys go out. I know that it can be exciting. I think for some women, they get fat because they associate his culture with excitement, and then they associate his cultural foods with excitement as well, and then you throw a dessert on top of that. So of course she's going to get fat. She's eating gelato. How do you eat gelato and only eat a small serving? I've never been able to do that. Like, if I'm going to get gelato, I'm going to go to the shop and I'm going to get the biggest bowl ever. So that's why I had to just stop doing it. But that's something else that makes women fat, though. They're not strategizing about what types of foods they're willing to try and which foods they're not willing to try. Or they will eat the entire serving when they're at the restaurants. You know, so she's eating her entire plate. She's not taking anything home. She's not taking it in a to-go box. She's eating the whole thing. Anyway, what do you ladies think? Have any of your relationships turned you into a beluga? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.